So in terms of clinical trial updates for the rest of the year, 2021, I'm happy to report to you that even in these difficult and trying times of the extended COVID-19 pandemic worldwide, we and others have been able to slog through and continue to open, start, maintain, and continue many of our clinical trials. At the beginning of the pandemic, many of us, out of necessity, were locking down and shutting down. But as vaccines and other measures permeate throughout the world, we're hoping to continue our clinical trials together. And in fact, we have been at my institution and many others. I think some of the areas to look for and focus on in 2021, especially in the rare leukemia subtypes, are what I would consider as add-on or combination clinical trials. So in the MPN field, for example, several to highlight that are now moving into phase 3 are those that combine a second agent to the JAK inhibitor ruxolitinib. And so that would be with BCL-XL inhibitors, bromodomain inhibition, PI3 kinase inhibition, hypomethylator, the list goes on. And so I think that's something very important to watch out for, how they accrue, what new toxicities are there, and then as they're reported at the meetings, what's the durability of responses in these situations. I think secondly, one area of clinical trial development that I think is very important is that of agents for COVID-19. Many agents have been looked at and tested, some of which went into phase 2 and phase 3. So I personally will be eager to see if there are new classes of drugs that are approved or refinements on the already existing ones, particularly with regards to the COVID CRS, the sort of deadly severe syndrome. And then finally, one last issue to mention in clinical trial development is that of the incorporation of PROs, or patient-reported outcomes, and symptom burden. Yes, it's been pioneered in our MPN field by our great friend and colleague, Dr. Ruben Mesa, but I'd like to start seeing that expand and move into the other cancer types, blood cancers in particular, with each disease or subtype maybe even having its own validated PRO or symptom burden questionnaire, in addition to the nice global ones that we're seeing. And I think the incorporation of social media and online tools for patients, caregivers, advocates to more easily be able to find and search out experts and centers and clinical trials, I really think should be paramount to our clinical trials planning and discussion. And so every time I'm asked about clinical trials, I'm going to incorporate this aspect, because more and more people are finding their primary information by online searches, going beyond just a Google search or a Facebook support group. So I think we need to be active and putting out the information on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, the audio aspects such as Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, just to name a few, that a lot of folks are on, particularly during the extended pandemic time, in order to be able to have a connection.